I've got to do this. I never really know when to start talking. It says we're live on Facebook. I'm going to trust it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Why Don't You Message in Secret? I've been looking forward to this one, and I have no idea if we're live or not. Can anyone check it? It takes a few seconds. Oh, yeah, it says I'm live now. Why don't you message in secret? We've got the normals here. We've got all our wonderful panelists. We've got some new panelists. I'm really glad about that. So welcome all of you. Also, you may wonder why I keep looking over here. I've got a big screen because when there's a lot of panelists, it's very hard for me to see people suggesting they would like to say something. So I would like to say a very warm welcome to our special guest this evening, Adrienne Carter. Also known as the Face Whisperer, amongst other things. Adrienne, would you like to actually say something about yourself just briefly, please?
Thank you very much, Fiona. Thank you for inviting me all too. I'm glad to be here. Some of you may have heard me speak at various events, but I specialise in facial expressions of emotions, and body language or behaviour. So I work with various different clients, a random lot of clients, and I absolutely love it. So really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Very welcome. So, Adrienne, if you ever notice us and you want to pop on again, please just send me an email and or a message on Facebook. That's how people get the invitations to be a panelist. So we do have another one booked for the 17th of November. So we will talk about that in a little bit. But first of all, I'd like to talk to the crew. Let's talk to Terry first, because he's always so up for this. Come on, Terry. Come on, Terry.
You never come to me first.
I have now.
Oh, lucky it's Christmas, I'll forgive you. I'm really excited about this one. I'm so excited about this one. I'm looking forward, well, to that. For me, today is about awareness, like self-awareness and awareness of others, and those micro expressions are like, because I think I'm quite what's the word when you notice things?
Perceptive.
What?
Observant?
No.
No, you're not that.
Where's Adrienne? Perceptive. Thank you, ma'am. I know there's a reason you're here. I think I'm quite good at picking up the signals and people's faces. So I'm really looking forward to this one to find out some more.
You want me to practice my micro expressions, Terry?
No, I know yours. Normally it's go away.
Yes, it is. No, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry. Sammy.
Well, I'm really interested in what's happening tonight. Body language is, like Terry said, it's about being aware and understanding what it is to read language. So you have to be aware of what that is to be able to do it. And then you kind of understanding where that's coming from as well, not just what it is, but where it's coming from. So that's the interesting part for me.
Not only what it is, but where it's coming from. Fabulous. Somebody keeps falling off. Barry and Gary, just because you've joined us new, can I ask, for the most part, if you would be all right to mute yourselves, and then when you want to speak, if you just put your hand up, make sure I've seen it. I tend to do a thumbs up, and then it just helps with the bandwidth. Otherwise, people like whoever it is keeps falling off, and I don't know who's falling off. I get a notification. Thank you, Sammy. I was listening, and I think it's really interesting what you said. I totally agree. Neil, where's Neil? There he is. Neil, your thoughts?
Yeah, very much the same as what the others have said, to be quite honest, because they've stolen my thunder, shall we say, especially you, Terry. Yeah, it's about awareness, and it's just about looking to see what other people or how other people see messages in secret, really.
Yeah, other people, everybody, all sorts of things. Wonderful. We've got an Ange down the bottom here. I'm going to rename Ange in a second. Ange is having trouble with her videos. She's there. Our Ange is there. She'll unmute and talk. Yeah. Welcome, Ange.
All right.
Yeah. We're just going to plod on, and I'll help you get sorted out for the next one if you wish.
Yeah, no problem. It normally works on Zoom, but for some reason it don't want to today.
No, sometimes you just need to switch things off and switch them back on again. That's the
Yes.
way. Kev.
Yeah, I'm probably slightly different because I'm interested in what people's eyes are doing, and the way they move their eyes tell me what they're actually thinking or saying to themselves, or even feeling as well. So I'm quite interested into just watching people's eyes this evening. It's quite hard on Zoom. I'm quite interested to see how I cope and see what people do. So that'd be interesting for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree. It's really frustrating when you're trying to, really make connections with people via Zoom. And I have to do it. Part of my day job these days, very much using Zoom as an interface. And with a lot of people, it can be very difficult. That's why I've made sure I've got my screen. So I do apologise. I will occasionally look at the camera, but when I'm looking at this, I'm actually looking at the panelists, and I need to see them quite big. I need to know if they're falling asleep, apart from Ange, who's been all secretive. Anyone else need to say anything?
What do you think, Fiona?
We've got a Di as well. I'll come to Di. I think for me, one of the things is how do we actually tell ourselves things? So it's all about messaging in secret. Yes, it's all about body language and things, but I think there's also internal dialogues we have as driving instructors that will affect how we turn up and will affect an interaction with the person opposite us, because we go with our own, it's like an agenda. We actually present something and then get surprised when the other person reacts to that. Sometimes the message we give ourselves before we actually get there is important, but that's for you guys to discuss. Does that make sense? Can I have a thumbs up? Because it's really, thank you. Thank you, Adrienne. That makes a difference. Di, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what I was walking into this evening, I have to say. I thought it might be sort of private messaging on Facebook when you didn't want, or when you didn't want to say something rude to somebody on Facebook. But I'm very happy that it's not, because I think that would be a very short why don't you? So I'm really interested, of course, in body language, micro expressions, as Kev says, about the way people look, whether they look to the right or whether they look to the left, whether they're looking up or down, whether they're actually seeing what it is that they're looking for, or whether they're actually lying to you, So I think it'd be quite interesting. So I'm really glad I came, because I wasn't going to.
Oh, Di. Oh, we're really glad you came. I really love seeing the new faces. I'm so glad we've got new faces. So exciting. So new ones for me to read as well. Thank you, Di. I agree. And we do like to keep it vague and keep it interesting, because then people come up with their own thoughts about what it should be about. And I hadn't thought about, why don't you message in secret, as in social media and all those things. So thanks for the input, Di. Steve.
Yeah, like Dyer, I didn't actually really have a clue what I was coming to tonight, but I'm quite interested in this because obviously it's something that really does interest me anyway. But the whole, and I hate to use this phrase, face mask thing has cut off a lot of communication for us while we're driving, and especially if the person wears glasses as well, you almost feel like, I find myself at the moment, some of my students get out of the car, take their mask off, and I actually don't recognize them anymore because they've taken that away. I only recognize them with the mask on. So I'm quite sort of interested in the effect that that's having.
Well, I like this. It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre what you can do with Zoom. I have no idea how to get it off quickly. Yeah, sorry, I should have done that. No, totally agree. The face mask thing is a massive issue. Yeah, thank you, Steve. So it's, we're going to be talking about ways have you found any ways to combat that yet, Steve? Oh, sorry, Teresa, I'll come to you. Adrienne. Brilliant. Teresa first. I was just wondering, Steve first.
I was a bit like Di. I thought that it was something social media sort of esque, and I wasn't 100% sure whether I was completely in the right place until I sort of put two and two together. Yeah, I'm a bit selfish. I was thinking more on the slant of I'm quite visual and I'm quite expressive, and I know that my face says a lot. So even I try to say how it is, but it often comes across in my eyes and my mouth. And like Steve, the whole like mask thing, I find myself messing with it because it's like I'm obstructed from actually showing my own expression. And I know that usually my clients are facing the road, but when we're sat chatting, it's almost like there's a barrier there. And I want them to see what I think and what I'm putting across. It's not just about them, because I like to think, like Terry, that I can read people reasonably well. Not perfectly, but you know, I'm quite interested in learning a bit more. But it's just the barrier that I put across, because I feel like it's a real visual thing for me to be able to express myself with my face.
Yeah, absolutely. The glasses and sunglasses thing is also an issue. Got you, Gary, but you're after Steve and Adrienne, so got you, Gary. The glasses thing, I can remember being in the car with people, and whenever I spoke, when I had the sunglasses on, I would do that, even though the driver's driving, and they would say, "Why are you doing that? Why, you know, I'm not looking at you." I say, "Oh, I'll leave them down then." So I would talk, and then they'd go, "No, go back. I don't like it." So even sitting next to and just doing that, it seems to be something that people notice. So no, thanks for that, Teresa. Steve, I did want to just check with you if you've found solutions, but I'll come back to you. Adrienne.
So I have created a PDF, what's behind the mask. So top half of the face, how to identify 6 of the universal facial expressions. So if anybody wants a copy of it, just drop me a message on Facebook or through whoever.
Can it be added, is it okay to be added to the link? It's usually on so if we could add it to that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So we are losing a massive chunk of communication. I don't know about anybody else, but I also go deaf when I've got the mask on. I have to take the mask down to listen to what people are saying to me in shops. I have no idea why that is. I don't have a clue, but I completely go deaf. And I don't mean to insult anyone who is deaf, but I can't hear what people are saying to me, because I mean, in my line of work, I would be focused on the face, but we are losing a massive, massive chunk of communication. And I found with some people, they like it because if they've got high levels of anxiety, they're quite happy to hide behind the mask. My daughter's got high levels of anxiety. She loves going out with a mask on, makes her feel more confident. And I would bet some of your pupils might feel a little bit more comfortable sort of hidden behind the mask. But if you are perceptive about people and everyone's got masks on, we are losing so much information.
Yeah.
But we still can pick up some information from the top half of the face. So really happy to share that if anyone wants.
Brilliant. I'm very interested, so I'll be messaging you. I want my own version. So many. One of my other professions is I'm actually a qualified lip speaker, which is literally lip speaking and saying exactly the same thing. But the strange thing is that so many people do lip read. Now I wonder about you then, Adrienne. Interesting.
I think I must do, but I didn't never know I did do until masks came in.
Yeah, absolutely. So totally agree. No, this is a really good point. Steve, did you want to come back with anything before I go to Gary?
Yeah, just quickly to answer what you said, what you asked. I found myself pulling over to chat even more than I was before, because that's the only way we can generate kind of a face-to-face. And then I can actually, even though it's only that bit, I can see it. And then in this weather, I find my sunglasses come off, their sunglasses, and that's the only way. So I find myself stopping even more than I was before the masks, really.
Fabulous. See, it's worth coming back and asking what you've found to be a solution. Love that one, Steve. It's going on my list. I don't actually do much in the, I hardly ever do anything. I only did 2 lessons in the not lockdown bit. Gary, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I found that as long as it's not pouring down the rain, I've been reflecting a lot, maybe sometimes outside the car, where we can take the masks off. Stopping in car parks, maybe after we've made an aim for the next 10 minutes or whatever. I normally like to stop somewhere safe. And if it's safe to get out, it's not raining, I find that coming out of the car, mask off, a couple of meters apart, I found that really, really helpful. Because it's interesting what you're saying about we didn't realise how much we looked at people's lips moving as well as listening. It can be difficult to pick up somebody's expressions. So I found it much easier outside the car with masks off. Like I said, it becomes a problem when it's pouring rain or if it's really, really cold out. But when we first went back from lockdown, we had the nice weather. And I think a lot of the pupils were glad to get out of the car for 2 or 3 or 5 minutes and then, you know, reflect on what's happened in the last 10, 15 minutes and the way forward for them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gary. That's really good. Anyone else got any solutions to the barrier that the face mask is or the sunglasses? I'm looking forward to that list, Adrienne. Looking forward to that. I'm sure everyone else is. Anything on Facebook yet, ladies and gents? Oh, Terry.
I've just found myself trying to be more expressive with my eyes and the rest of the body to try and make out how I'm feeling, because I can't obviously see that bit. So I've been trying to like, ooh, and being really trying not that expressive, being on me. So I try and express in different ways.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. Did it work to you? In your opinion?
I don't know. I presume so. No one said anything like you look weird while looking at that, but it's just something I've tried to. Well,
mostly we're all surprised that you're not looking at the telly.
Fiona, you make love to one sheep and you never forgotten, is it? It was an important football match. I mean, that I wasn't watching.
Other expletives are Steve. I'm gonna interrupt you. Steve,
other animals are available.
I do have a mute button. Other expletives are available. Could you do the anyway? Steve, help me.
I'm just thinking about a potential danger for us as instructors and trainers as well, of when our faces are hidden, there is that danger that we let frustration show on our faces, perhaps under the mask, that might in some way be picked up on by the student, because that bit, you know, just pulling the fat, anything like that, if that's happening where we'd normally be really guarded against it because it would all be very visible, and then all of a sudden that bit isn't, there is that kind of danger of that being picked up on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also, sometimes it comes out in your body as well, just where you put your shoulders. Yep, Adrienne, good, wonderful.
So one of the things that I do in training is people can't do both. They can't hide their face and hide their body language. They'll do one or the other. They won't do both. So if the face is, if they're really conscious of hiding their facial expressions, it will, but 99% of the time, leak out the body. If they're really conscious of their body language, it'll leak out the face. They don't ever do both. And I've analysed thousands of people. So that's a really good point you made, Fiona. At some point, how people really feel will come out.
Fabulous. That's really interesting. Sometimes I think, well, I'm glad Kev's taking notes. Sometimes I think, Kev, you got no challenge to be as good as you were last week, or last, why don't you, by the way? No challenge for that one. With your summary, it was absolutely spot on, that summary last week. Thank you, Adrienne. I think that that's really important, and it's really important to notice. Fab. Well done, Kev. Terry. You're muted still.
That actually leads us on to a question I had actually, and it's about our self-awareness and how many of us, just attendees here and people watching on Facebook, how many of us know if we act differently when we turn up to a lesson with someone we don't like?
That's exactly the point.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah. And how many of us turn up differently to a lesson or act differently in a lesson with people we do like? And do we try and hide that? Are we aware of that? How do we try and hide it? But I guess we can't, but judging by what Adrienne just said, that will give it away.
I wonder what other people think. I was just going to speak. I should give other people the opportunity. Barry, welcome.
Hi. What Terry just said, I try to treat everyone equally. It is hard sometimes because you do have a clash of character, but we try and treat everyone exactly the same, and you have to work that a little bit harder. Also, recently we've gone for clear masks where you can see face on them, so you can see yourself.
How are you, Hannibal Lecter?
Which helps when you're teaching people hard of hearing, because they can lip read.
Absolutely. Lip reading Hannibal Lecter. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's really true. I have a technique and it's something I'm very conscious of, but I really, what do you guys do when you do have that pupil and you're worried about your body language? Because you can fake one of them. Could you change something else? I don't know. Well, I do know. I am thinking Ian's cracking up, so I cannot look at Ian now. I cannot look at Ian, otherwise I'll be going with him. When you notice that you have that pupil that you're not looking forward to, ask yourself why. Because you can't change it. You can't fake this and this. I've just found that out. I'm really interested in that. You can't fake this and this. Therefore, you have to not be faking any of it. Then it doesn't matter. Why is it that you're not comfortable with that person? Because usually what I found in my experience, when I approach somebody and I'm not looking forward to the session, it isn't their problem, it's mine. I'm missing something. Teresa.
In my years of teaching, I had quite a few experiences like that. You've got 30 kids in your class and there's always one that pushes your buttons, and it's really difficult to not sort of show them that they wind you up, or that they sort of upset you, or that you're frustrated by them in any way. It is really hard to hide. And I've had a few experiences recently when it's one-to-one. I think it's worse because like you can always turn your back on somebody and face another way when you're in a classroom, but you can't do that when you're next to somebody or opposite someone. So it, like you said, it's always my problem. It's not usually them. It's just their personality just doesn't quite gel, or they've got a slightly different attitude towards something, or they don't listen or something like that. And then it's just turning it around and trying to take each lesson as a complete fresh and trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and see how long it takes for them to wind you up again. I've lost a couple like that because I've just basically, sort of left it, if that makes sense. But in terms of the facial side of things, what Adrienne just said about not being able to sort of leak from one area or another, I think my face will always give it away. So, but if I'm trying to like keep the face straight, then yeah, the tension is all in my body. And I don't know whether they can pick up which one people tend to pick up on more. For me, it tends to be, comes out more in my approach towards somebody. So I tend to be more instructor led if somebody winds me up. So, and the way that I speak to them, I think it's more obvious in that respect, but I'd be more interested in how my body and face are sort of leaking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm wondering who else wants to know what Adrienne's answer is. I know what my guess would be, and I can then say if I'm right or wrong. Adrienne, what would you say? Is it which one?
It depends on the person. It really does depend. Some people are completely conscious of their body language. Some people are really conscious of their facial expressions. That there is no one size fits all. It's just individuals. And as regards somebody picking up on how you feel, it depends how perceptive they are. Some people are really perceptive. Oftentimes children that grow into adults who've had a really difficult life, they're really perceptive because they never know where the next hit or blow unkind word is coming for, so they're on the watch out for it. So kids that grow up in difficult circumstances normally, not always, grow up into adults, and they become very aware and very observant. So it just depends how observant the other person, you know, some people, we know them, they're really self-absorbed and have no idea what's going on with somebody else. I used to work with a sales chap, actually. He was a brilliant salesman, but only because he was so determined. He could never read a room. I'd come out thinking, oh my God. He didn't give a monkeys, because he was completely oblivious, which actually can be quite useful sometimes, to just plow on regardless. He got quite a lot of work from doing that. So it really does depend on how perceptive the other person is. But just going back to that point is, we've all got unconscious biases. What we can do to negate the effects of those unconscious biases is become aware of them. That oftentimes will negate some of the effects, because you become really conscious, like, I really don't like boys of 17 years of age, say, just because he reminds me of my son, how he used to be. He was really arrogant, it was a pain in the backside, and you know, you might have to teach 17-year-old boys. So if you become aware that you've got this unconscious bias and bring it to your conscious, you can then negate some of the effect of that.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Ariane. I would have thought that people become conscious of the mismatch, where people are incongruent. Oh, look, I'm using a big word. Where people are incongruent. Di, I will come to you in a second. Keith was first, and it was, I did see you both. Where's Keith gone? Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I was just going to agree with what Teresa was saying. A lot of it comes out in the voice. For example, I've got a lad at the moment that has booked his own test, then decided to have a lesson every other week, then cancelled this week. He's already cancelled a few, and you can find, I can hear myself, the steam starting to come out. I'm thinking, I've got to be calm, because it's, you know, it's very hard kind of thing. And yes, it does come out in the voice as much as the eyes, and I would imagine the body language as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. Thank you. Di.
Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, this has always been something that troubled me, you know, about, because it used to happen to me a lot when I was teaching. You look at your diary and you just see that one pupil that you go, oh God, why did I book him in twice this week? You know, so I think Fiona, actually, you're very correct, in as much as it's not necessarily them, it's us. Because we have already gone into that lesson with the attitude of, oh God, no, not him again. And I think it's a point of reframing. If we were to reframe ourselves before we went to that lesson and actually imagine that they were our best star pupil rather than our worst, I think that would help us to hide the body language of, oh God, no, not again, you know? So I think it's reframing really, is getting our heads into, this is our best pupil, not our worst.
Yeah, totally agree. And if the reframing didn't work, what I have done in the past is spoken to them about it. I haven't said, look, I really hate your sessions. I haven't said it that badly, but I have actually had a conversation. You know, I get this feeling, something, Steve, I got you, Teresa's first though. I just get something, and I just initiate a conversation, which some people would say might be quite awkward, but I think it's better out than in, because I can't keep it in. Get it out there, and then even if it ends up, well, it just works. It just really works, because people are surprised by that. Teresa, please.
Yeah, going from what Di said, I love that word reframing, and I don't use it enough in my head, but I probably do it in, like, I try to do it, but it's just like taking that lesson and going, right, what can I do to make this a good one? You know, how can we sort of turn it around and sort of start afresh? And I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I've done what you've done as well, Fiona. On one occasion, I asked a student sort of how she felt, you know, about the lesson and how she felt about our relationship, and she didn't hold back. And I asked her if she wanted to rebook, and actually by the time she got back to a college car park, I said, like, so you're going to have a chat with mum and come back to me? And she, no, it's out in the open now, let's rebook it. And so we ended up sort of going to the end, and she passed. But I have had one go the other way, and sort of I ditched him because I couldn't handle it anymore. I tried to do what Di said and reframe every lesson, and give him a fresh start every lesson. And it just wasn't working for me. So I sort of became very busy when term started, so, which is sad because I like to tell them why, really subtly, but I couldn't on this occasion. I didn't think it was fair because it was probably more my problem than his. So.
Well, you know, you've got the integrity. No, it's really nice. It was Steve, wasn't it? Thank you, Teresa. I do love a bit of honesty. Steve.
Yeah, I think quite lucky in the respect that I'm only really consciously aware that I've had this situation with one pupil before. And my light bulb moment with what was going wrong there happened the day that I sat in a classroom and watched Kev walk in wearing a hoodie. That was when it happened for me, because I was suddenly very much aware of I was imposing my personality on him. He wasn't responding. That was annoying me. And then it was just very much, once I got that understanding, it was fine. I just stopped expecting him to behave the way I was expecting him to behave and just let him do it. You know, there was nothing wrong with his driving per se. It was just perhaps a clash of personalities. But do you know what? I don't have to get on with everybody. Not everybody gets on with me. It's, you know, but I'm quite lucky in the respect, I think, that I'm only consciously aware of that happening once, but I don't know whether, because I was conscious of it then, I've kind of made sure it hasn't happened since. So I'm not sure whether I've been lucky or I've actually worked on it. I don't know which one, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. You know, probably doesn't happen very often with you, Steve, because you have that kind of integrity thing that people do respond to. You're very popular. You're a very popular person. Kev, do you want to explain what you were doing, running around in a hoodie?
Being young, or attempting to be young, should I say. It doesn't happen very often for me. No, we were just trying to, it was about people's, what we immediately think of someone when we see someone dressed in a certain way or wearing certain clothes, or even sunglasses, baseball cap, and then we have this perception of people. And that's basically what we were doing on that little exercise. And, you know, what do they think of that person? Even though it was me, you know, that person, it changed people.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I totally agree.
I'll come back to me with a question. I've got a question later.
Oh, well, there seems to be a lull. Do you want the question now or later?
Yeah, go on then. I just, you know, when I'm asking questions, and if I asked you a question now, what I tend to do is look at eye movements, and it's a bit like Darren Brown when he does all his stuff. He knows the people that he's going to choose, and the words that he uses gain a reaction from that person. And I just wondered if anyone else has had the similar situations that they use it in. I don't know if that's a clear question, but using the eye movements, that's what I'm going to, how do they use that?
Anyone? Ask me a question, Kev.
Okay, here we go. Going to use your eyes then. So, can you remember the last mouthful of food you had?
Yes.
And there I see what you did, because what you did with your eye movement, you moved them up to your left-hand side.
Yeah.
Because what you was doing is you was remembering, you were visually remembering that fork or spoon or plate of food. You was visually remembering it. So I know what you've done straight away.
Bet you don't know what I ate.
I saw it.
Spring roll.
Well, you didn't. I had stomach bread after that.
It wasn't a duck roll, was it?
No, it wasn't, because I'm a vegetarian, but I also had something nice. I had the proper stuff. Then I had the reward, which was a bit of stomach bread. Teresa.
I was just going to say, Kev went straight to the eyes to the left, but I actually spotted initially you were just sort of staring like, what's this question going to be? there was sort of a bit of a confusion / intrigue in there. And then when he actually said food, remember, you know, then your eyes went left. So there was sort of more there than just the obvious reaction.
Absolutely. Do you want to know what it all was? First of all, is I'm looking at a little green light. Then it was, I wonder if Kev's going to talk about the coaching stuff that we've been talking about, where Kev's been doing some one-to-one coaching with me. And I'm also thinking, am I close enough to the screen? And I've got my glasses on. It was all those sort of things. So I was actually, and I can't even see Kev. So that it's all barriers, more barriers. So there were all sorts of things in there. Plus, I feel a bit stupid. Adrienne.
So I studied NLP. You're talking about NLP eye movements, Kev. So I studied NLP quite a while ago now, and in our market research business, we used to watch for people's eye movements, and 90% of the time, they would do exactly what you just did with Fiona, but then you'd get the 10% that did something completely random. So just with the caveat, I would just say, just get a baseline of someone's normal behavior. That's the best way. Then when that behavior changes, that's what you're looking for. So, you know, I'd ask Fiona a few questions about her food and get what she does normally, because when she does something different, okay, now that's really interesting. Now let's dig into that a little bit more. But yeah, really interesting. And pupil dilation as well. Quite hard to pick up in real time, but that's what Darren Brown uses, a lot of pupil dilation. So when the pupils dilate and what's the other word? I can't think what the other word. Expand and dilate. That's not the exact word, but anyway, that's really interesting. And we pick up that subconsciously. We don't even know we're doing that. That's part of attraction. So I do some dating stuff as well. And part of attraction is when people's pupils dilate, they're attracted and they're interested.
It's to do with the excitement as well. When they're getting excited, like driving a car fast.
Yeah, I thought it meant that they were excited by talking to you, Kev. Clearly not. Should we let Terry talk, or shall I get Phil first? Terry, please.
I'm just going to keep the theme of, you know, this education, university standard conversation going with, did you say you ate stomach bread?
Yes.
I don't know what to ask. What stomach bread?
Well, that's what the Swiss call it. I have no idea. It's a sort of, it's got spices in it. It's like a very stale bit of cake or biscuit puffed up.
And it's called stomach bread.
Yeah.
Sounds lovely.
Wow. Marketing at its best from...
I'll bring it to the next Why Don't You?
Please don't. Phil, what do you have to say?
I was just going to say, when Adrienne was talking just now, you know, we were talking about the eyes, and I was watching Adrienne's eyes movements, and each time she was trying to think of what she was going to say next, her eyes were moving. And, you know, the head was moving a little bit as well. So, yeah, there is an awful lot you can pick up on from watching people sort of from there up, really. That's all I was going to say.
Does it also, Adrienne, is it part of normal speech where when people want to carry on speaking, they look away, and then when they're ready for you to speak again, they actually look back? Is that a thing?
It depends. Again, it's what's normal for a person. About normal eye contact levels in a normal conversation without any stressors is about 60% of the time you'll hold eye contact easily and comfortably. But again, when someone starts to feel stressed or nervous or anxiety or whatever other emotion they're feeling, that's when it all changes. And interestingly, Phil, I was being really careful what I said. So that's what you picked up on. I was being really careful what I said, because I have lots of different thoughts on NLP eye movement. So I was being really careful and choosing my words. So you picked that up really well.
Well done, Uncle Phil. Die.
I just want to know if I was right in thinking that visual people tend to look away more because they're actually looking at the picture, or if they're trying to remember something, they tend to see it before they speak about it?
I have no idea on that. I'm not up to date with NLP stuff at all. It's so Kev, you might know. You might be a bit more better to answer that one than me.
I think there is a certain amount with that, Di, especially if they're going back into the past, they will definitely pause. You'll see the eye movements, and then they'll explain what they're seeing. If it hasn't happened yet and they're visualizing in the future, what tends to happen is, again, they'll just pause, and then the eye movement will be slightly different, but they tend to then go instead to the left, it would be to their right, and they construct what they can see in the future. But again, then it just comes back to you normally.
I've got, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. Di, just in relation to what you were talking about, I did a cartoon. I did a silly, I think I did a Facebook article about it. My dad, to concentrate on the phone, takes his glasses off. And I'm sure it's so that the actual visual input is lessened. So he's actually getting rid of some of the distraction so he can concentrate. Oh, I've done it again, he says. I've taken my glasses off so I can hear you better. There you go. And now I'm like him. Thank you, Di. No hands up. Right, Kev, your turn again. Linda, you haven't spoken for ages. You must have loads on this. Oh, lovely, Linda. We've missed you. Missed loads of people. Oh, Sammy, go.
Fiona, somebody wants to know, I think it was Steph, where, who was it that had the mask? I can't remember who had the clear mask. Barry, was it?
That was Barry. Yeah.
She wants to know where you got the masks from, Barry.
Don't tell her, Barry, because we all want one first. Barry, would you do us a favour and write?
They're off eBay. There ones. Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Amabay or Ibazon, I'm guessing then.
Yes. Yeah, they're on Amazon as well. Yeah.
Steve. Yes. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Sam.
They are on Amazon as well, but you won't be allowed to wear just that on a test. I tried the other day because I've got one in the car, and he was told he has to wear that and a face mask, or just a face mask. So whether that was just my examiner, I don't know, but that was what I was told.
So be prepared for both. Be prepared for both. Adrienne.
Just going back, since nobody's talking at the minute, I'll talk. This stuff that Kev and I are talking about, so the communication skills, so the NLP or the facial expressions or the body language, these aren't nice to have. These are essential. I'm a bit on my soapbox this week. Since Monday morning, I did a webinar Monday morning, and I've done a few more since then, and people go, oh, that's really interesting, and then walk away. These are essential tools that Kev and I are talking about. If you really want to up your communication skills, start learning about how you communicate better. The messages you're giving out, you said it, Fiona, we're giving out messages all the time. Are we consciously giving out messages, or are we subconsciously giving out messages? Do we think about how we dress ourselves? Do we think about, everything about ourselves? What is the message that we want our pupils and our students to get from us? Because we can be more conscious about it. So I think this, people thinking, oh, this is really interesting, it's nice to have. No, this is vital stuff. This is really important stuff. I will get off my soapbox now.
Ta-da! I've just seen a horrible thing at the top of my screen. I'm sorry, I've just seen a really horrible message at the top of my screen. I totally agree. I think it is vitally important that that we do work on that stuff. It's the same, exactly the same principle as, it's not connected, but when we as ADIs, we as driving instructors think we listen very well. I don't believe we do. I don't think we do it. So the body language thing. Terry's doing his hand twisty thing. I think Bollywood? Was it a Bollywood movie you're in? Anyway. Terry.
Just got a question for Adrienne. Right, you're the expert, yeah? You can nod now. Could you fake it? So if I give an example, you're at a party and the person you're with is really, really boring, would you be able to fake it that it was believable with your skills? Or would there be something that they might pick up on?
Yes and no is the answer. It depends how perceptive the other person is. There will be something that I will reveal that I'm bored and I don't like this person. There will be something. How perceptive the other person is in picking it up is nothing I can do about. But I can tell. I've been doing it for a long time. But the best way to tell, it's really hard to do what I do in real time. The best way to do it is by video interviews, watching videos back 15 frames per second, because that way you capture everything that's going on. Sometimes that's the only way to capture what's really going on. But yes, I can fake it. I very, very rarely do fake anyway, or try to fake how I feel, consciously anyway, because I want people to engage with me. I'm all about, people buy me and I want to come across as authentic. So people have asked me to train them to fake it. And I've always said no, because you'll always give something away. I can't train you to never give something away, because you will. And when I train public speakers, I always say to them, tell the audience how you feel. If you feel really nervous at the start of a presentation, tell the audience, because you can relax, they can relax, and everyone can just get on with it. Whereas if you don't tell them and you try to fake the fact that you're really confident by hand movements or facial expressions or the way you stand, it'll leak somehow. They'll pick up on it, and they might not realize that you're anxious. They'll pick up on something. They might think you're being deceitful, and it's not. It's just that you're really scared. You're really nervous. So I'm not a big believer in faking it till you make it. I'm a believer in being genuine. And if you feel a certain way, if you feel angry, you know, going to a lesson and you're feeling angry from the one before, tell the student, because what happens in your brain then is your brain then relax. They relax because they're not thinking he's really cross with me, he hates me. And everyone can just relax and move on. Yes, Terry, do you want to ask another question?
And that's why you get good and bad actors, I guess.
Absolutely, totally that. The world-class actors, because we totally believe them. My friend's in amateur dramatics and I go along and support her, but they're so wooden. It's just because it's not, they can't put it across as well as the world-class actors. The world-class actors actually are taught these communication skills. It's what takes them to the top of their game. The Friends series, one of the reasons why when they've analysed now why it was so successful is because they portrayed the emotions and the audience didn't have to do an awful lot of thinking. It was automatic. They completely picked up on the nuances of emotion that the actor was portraying, and that's why it was so good.
Brilliant. Well, there you go. This is very interesting. Kev, have you got a thing? Thank you, Adrian.
What?
Look, Sammy's got dinner. Is it veggie? Hi, Mike. It's not oh, I want some. Kev, have you got a question? Has anyone? Oh, sorry, Teresa. Sorry.
Do I look like Kev?
No. I'm sorry.
I was actually going to refer to Kev, but I remember the hoodie thing. BTEC first module, he did exactly the same in ours, and what he's just been talking about with the whole sort of it just comes down to the first message that you get in that BTEC, and all about the communication, but it comes down to rapport. And if you're not honest with, like Adrienne said, tell them how you're feeling, because if you're not honest with them, then it's going to, like she said before, it's going to leak. And I think if you can sort of, if they know you and they can relax with you, then that rapport is going to be better. So if you know, I said that I spoke to that young lady and told her, or said that I felt like there was a bit of an atmosphere, and, you know, was there something that I was portraying or that, you know, that she was feeling that was affecting the lesson? And she, like I said, gave it to me both barrels. And I think that that's a really brave thing to do, is to let your guard down as an instructor or as a coach and find out exactly how they feel so that you can get under there. and sort of build that rapport up, because we were never going to have decent lessons unless I got to the bottom of what she was thinking or what she was feeling. And so, you know, and so that resonates with me, what Kev said about rapport all that time ago, but also Adrienne being, you know, saying to be completely honest and don't fake, because it doesn't work. It really doesn't. So anyway, thank you.
There's none of that equalness thing going on either, is there? You know, the equal relationship that we're after in the car. No, thanks, Teresa. Gary, I can see you there.
Yeah, just moving on from what Teresa was just talking about rapport, and I find it so important that you got a little bit of neutral rapport at the beginning of the lesson and during the lesson. I found there's always something that you can share with. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's football or what they did at the weekend, and you can explain what you did the weekend, maybe even make something up if it helps. But I think that really breaks the ice at the beginning of the lesson, gets them talking to you. I think that's so important with communication. The problem is, I've had a couple of pupils in the past that once you start talking to them, you can't shut them up. And they're quite glad they sit there for 10 minutes and talk about their weekend. So I think it's important that you just sort of cut that off as soon as you can. But I find that really helps. We're talking about people you don't like. There's always something that you can find, some kind of common ground. And I think that really helps too, because you can always start talking about that if things are not going so well with the communication with the driving aspect.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. This is Gary J, by the way.
Oh, hi.
Gary J, and the other Gary is Gary F. And I should have thought about that when I was naming you on the sorry. So there's nothing on Facebook. There is no one saying anything on Facebook, or haven't you guys been checking? Oh, Ian, I was going to say, surely you've been on it.
Okay. I can't say too much.
Ian, no. Don't repeat it.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, it's unrepeatable.
All right. Oh, okay then. Oh. Can anyone detect the discomfort in my face?
No, it's just a lot of,
there was no micro expression there. It was quite a big one. Almost had a whole chin wobble.
it's not
It's not about you, Fiona. You're okay.
Can I get you guys to think again about what the subject was? It was why don't you message in secret? And it's the why don't you. Usually we do it in the negative, but can you think of ways that you can use a positive intentionally then? Sending, why don't you message in secret? But instead of, because what we tend to do, as always, in driver training, we tend to focus on the negatives. I invite you guys now. There's the challenge. Tell me how you're going to message in secret in a positive way. Come on, Kev. I think you just did it, did you?
I just did it, didn't I?
I think you did. I love that. Anyone else got anything? Lovely, Linda. Come on.
I'd say use your intuition. So just go with what you're feeling. You know, if you're feeling if you're not feeling it from your student, then you've just got to carry on with trying different ways of getting on with them. Just go with your intuition. Yeah. I'm not making it very clear, I know.
Well,
I know what I mean.
I know. Yeah. No, I kind of know what you mean. I think I do kind of know what you mean. Anyone else got anything? How can you give messages in secret? I don't have anything. I don't have an agenda with this. I just wondered if you guys have thought of anything. Oh, Teresa. Good. It's very difficult to scan.
Smile whenever you can. I think that's what Kev did, but I was looking the other way at the time, so I just saw a grimace going the other way. So it might have been a smile. You know, that sort of showing your interest and being wide-eyed, you know, sort of when they're saying something or showing something that's positive, so that you're giving a positive response and not just, like you said, focusing on negatives. It's really easy to be half full, half empty rather, and not be half full. But and showing relax as well. That's the other thing. I know that we're talking about facial expressions and stuff, but sometimes I'll turn around to my students and at the end of a lesson, especially if they're almost test ready, and I'll say, have you noticed something about the way I've been acting and my body language today? And they sort of sit there and think for a minute, and then they'll go, your feet aren't anywhere near those pedals and you seem to be really relaxed. I say, yeah, where was my arm? Out the window. Right. What does that tell you about your driving? What does that tell you about the way that you're conducting yourself? And they said that you trust me, that, you know, you've got faith in me. So there we go then. And sometimes that's a really good message to give. So I'm using my body language to show them that I'm comfortable. And then unfortunately on the negative, it does happen the other way. So the gripping.
I think it's when you have to remove your fingertips from the dashboard.
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. No, thanks, Teresa, and well done. That's a lovely version. That's exactly what I was after. Thank you. Di, and then Phil.
Yeah, I think it's about taking a genuine interest in your pupils, staying on their agenda as to what they want, being non-judgmental, smiling and nodding and active listening and all of those skills that we all have, yeah? But it's taking a genuine interest in them. It's not about us, it's all about them. You know, they don't want to hear our antidotes and all the rest of it. They just want to be heard.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, thank you, Di. Really important. Phil, hopefully Di stole your thunder.
She certainly did. Absolutely. Interest. And Teresa stole the rest of it. Relax. So I can shut up now.
No, Phil, please, just
Yeah, no, I
reiterate.
think, absolutely showing the interest with your body language, with the way you react to your pupil, and sitting back and relaxing, even in the toughest of situations, is just trying to sit back and appear very calm. Or even, you know, it's the duck thing, isn't it? You're very calm on the surface, but your feet might be paddling like hell underneath. So if you can give that relaxed feeling to a pupil, it does help them relax. So yeah, there we go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Phil. Totally agree. Steve, and then Adrienne, I would like to know what you think about that, and then I have one more question for you after that as well. So Steve first.
Yeah, thanks. I just like Phil said, it just reminds me of a photo that popped up on Facebook a few months ago, and it was basically about 5 people sitting on a roller coaster or a log flume, and the 3 people at the back all had their arms up, mouths open, screaming really loud. The one person at the front was just completely deadpan, and it was just captioned, "Spot the driving instructor." And it's just something that feels, and I think it's those kind of lines, isn't it? I mean, I always say quite jokingly, look, when they are scared about something, that, you know, you don't have to worry until I'm worrying. If I'm not worrying, you've got nothing to worry about. Until then, it's not a problem. There are no mistakes that you can make that we can't get out of. And I think that sort of setting your stall out straight away, explaining these things right away, yeah, it just levels it off, I think. And that's, you know, that's in itself, you know, along with your body language, their body language, telling them what you don't expect from them as much as what you expect from them, I think really kind of levels it off nice and early and makes a big difference, I think.
Absolutely. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, spot on.
And the only thing I would add to that, I love what Teresa said about, you know, her body language relaxation. They're getting the message, and she just then makes them aware of the message. I love that. I think that's absolutely spot on. And what Di said, you know, the genuine interest, you can't beat genuine interest. basic human needs. People want to be seen and heard. And if someone's genuinely interested, people pick up on that genuineness. And I just think that those two top tips are nothing to top either of those two.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Because Kev's going to give us a recap in a minute. Hopefully his standard of recap. He just did such a good job last time. Adrienne, I just wonder, I did it. What is it that you think that has come to mind that you haven't had an opportunity to bring out? Is there anything as a recap from you, or is there anything that you would have hoped come out that you can...
For me, it is all about awareness. I can't remember who said it right at the beginning. It's about awareness, about training ourselves to become more aware of ourselves and other people. I think once you start to learn this stuff, the skills that Kev's talked about, the stuff I've talked about, once you start to really become aware of it, you keep developing it, keep teaching yourself, turn the television sound off and watch the television and just watch, how people are interacting. And what you can pick up so much. The words are really important as well. We should never discount the words, particularly when they don't match what we're seeing, because that gives us lots of information. And ask questions, those genuine questions, how are you feeling today? I always say in all my trainings, I never challenge anybody on what I see. So if I saw someone being really fed up in this webinar now, I'd be like, I wouldn't challenge, I'd just say, how are you finding it, Fiona? Is this of interest to you? But those genuine questions are the key to all of this, I think, because you really want to find out what's going on for them, because we're not mind readers. None of us are mind readers, and we can pick up certain information, but then we have to test that information so that we're not putting our own assumptions on it. So that's all I've got to add. Thank you.
But I think it's testing it in the right way, as you said.
Absolutely.
And what do you think about that, Fiona, rather than saying, "Oi, Fiona, what's wrong with your face?" Isn't it? We can literally turn it round in an instant where someone's just having a bad day, and we can use a phrase because we've made an assumption about their intendeds. Absolutely. Thank you. Gary. I was just going to get Kev to do his bit. Gary.
Yeah, it's the way you speak as well gives out messages. I mean, if we're stressed, we tend to talk a bit faster. If we're calm, we may be talking slower, maybe softer. And I think pupils in lessons pick that up. If there's something that's, take all of us. If a pupil's approaching a roundabout too fast, it's rush hour and it's a very busy roundabout, and they haven't seen the brake lights ahead and they're still accelerating towards the roundabout. How's our tone of voice going to change? How's that command going to be different? Are we going to be calmer, or are we going to be more, is the panic going to be in our voice? How does the pupil pick that up? I've often been said that, a lot of my pupils say, "You're so calm." I said, well, if you're driving towards a lorry at 40 miles an hour, you'll probably see a change in me. And that's normally a laugh. But yeah, I think it's the tone and speed of your voice can give away your feelings.
Yeah. I don't even say anything in those moments, Gary. I tend to start off with the calmer version of, and then if that doesn't work, so that, yeah, Teresa.
I think on the back of what Gary's just said, something that's just come to me. Obviously, this is a twofold conversation, isn't it? It's what they read from us and what we read from them. And if we don't, they're not going to be paying attention to well, they might see in peripheral our body language. They're not really going to be able to read our faces completely, because they should be looking at the road, hopefully, and concentrating on what's around them in that respect. So it is very much going to be coming from voice, but from us to them, we need to be able to read as much as we can from them to get as much information. And like Adrienne just said about body, like not making assumptions as to what the body language is showing. And one of the things I've said to mine at the very beginning, when we're sort of building the whole rapport, risk management sort of conversation, and I'll say, look, obviously I've got pedals, but I can steer, I can change gear, I can do anything we need to keep safe, and I can be your eyes, anything you need. But obviously, and I can read you a little bit, you're going to give off little signals, you might squeak, you know, but I could do with your help because I'm not a mind reader. So if you've got something going on there, you know, don't be afraid to say it, even if it's a scream, you know. And so obviously getting them to sort of vocalize their feelings, so you're not just relying on one stimulus. But then obviously when you're having a conversation one-to-one and at the side of the road, you can delve into that a bit deeper. So you might see their eyes roll, or you might see them look to one side when you ask them something. And then you can sort of grab hold of that and sort of say, so, you know, ask those open questions and what have you that we've been trained to do, so that you can delve into those signals. So use the clues is one of my favorite phrases in the car, along every sort of aspect. Use the clues, and I need to use the clues as well. So
Absolutely.
there we go.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And respond to them. It's all about the kind of contracting, isn't it? It's a sort of contracting, as in managing the risk. It's kind of contracting. Kev, I was thinking of the recap because we're running over. I don't think anyone's minded. I think this has been quite a useful one. Kev. Oh, and just before you start, I'd like to apologise to anyone of our attendees. I'm sorry. Apparently, I needed to click another button. That's a Zoom update I hadn't noticed. So I do apologise. The attendees couldn't get in today. And that was I've just seen a message at the top of the screen that was over halfway through before I saw that. So I do apologise. I'm sorry. Won't happen again. Kev.
At least we know for next time, Fiona. It's always good. So today was mentioned body language, eye movements, communications, people wearing masks and the barriers that creates us now. We're tending to be using micro expressions a lot now, so people's eyebrows and things are moving all the time, so using that a lot. And the instructor wearing the mask can be picked up by the student as well. So it's like it was just mentioned a little while ago about a two-way communication in the car as well now. So the student will pick up our communication that we're giving them as well as they're giving us as well. And either body language or facial expressions, and you can't hide one or the other. I think that was quite important there. And how do we turn up for lessons? Do we turn up for lessons really well with the people we like, or the people we don't like, do we turn up differently? So again, you know, think about that from your point of view of turning up for lessons. The unconscious bias, be aware of them and bring it to your conscious mind. And with difficult students, it could be us that are the problem. So you can reframe us, you know, reframe you. If you are feeling down, change that state. Eye movements, but gauge your students first. You'll know what your students are doing if you're looking at eye movements. But also tend to notice normally that people's eyes dilate, probably normally when it's experiencing something, should we say. And all these things that we're doing, we do them naturally. But there are essential communication tools that we should be using, and the way we communicate is really important. And one way we can do that is video ourselves or video conversations and then replay them, and notice what you notice. And communication, rapport, are we being congruent with what we're saying and what we're actually, the body language, being open, honest, with that equal relationship, using our intuition, relaxing, and just being interested in our students on their agenda. And then my final thought for people is you cannot not communicate.
This is true.
There you go. That's me finished.
True. You cannot not. All right, Terry's plug. Go on, Terry.
It's not my plug, Fiona.
Who's going to plug?
Adrian's might have a book.
Absolutely. Very welcome.
Very, very quickly. Thank you, Terry, because I have got to go now. I've got another call waited. But the Face Whisperer book, it's not literary genius. So don't expect War and Peace or anything like the great writers. But it just gives you a bit more information about the face and why it's interesting and why it's important, and some facial expressions to start looking out for. Thank you very much, Terry. On Amazon.
Thank you very much. On Amazon. We might even put the link in the thread. Thank you, Adrienne, if you have to go. But I was going to say, all of the rest of you, all of you panelists, we do tend to hang around after we switch off the Facebook Live thing. We do tend to hang around and we have a gossip, make jokes at Terry. But if you've got to go, Kev's done his recap. I would like to invite you all to the next Why Don't You, which is 17th of November at 9:30 in the morning. Because everybody's locked down, we've gone back to daytimes. So 17th of November, 9:30 in the morning. Why Don't You Elicit Feedback is the one we've chosen. Why don't you elicit feedback?
Can we come in our pajamas, please?
Yes. Yes.
I thought you always did, though.
Right. So a big warm-hearted thank you, guys. Thank you, panelists. Thank you so much to Adrienne Carter for her attendance here. So if anyone can think of topics and guests to invite, we'd love to do it. But I'm going to end the Facebook Live unless someone else has got anything to say. Say goodbye to the peeps, people. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. I can't find the end Facebook.